Fake it inside, own it outside. What if I told you that the secret to changing your outer world lies in something as simple and as profound as pretending? Not childish pretending, not make-believe, but an inner assumption, an invisible act so powerful that the world outside has no choice but to rearrange itself around it. Neville Goddard once said, "Man's chief delusion is his conviction that there are causes other than his own state of consciousness." You see, we have been trained to believe that action, struggle, and proof must come before results. But Neville teaches otherwise. Everything begins with a movement in imagination, a movement felt as real. Pretending, then, is not about escaping reality. It's about commanding it, quietly and masterfully, from within. In this video, you'll discover how to properly pretend it's already yours, using 12 powerful techniques you've likely never been taught in this way before. You'll see real examples, learn exactly what to do during everyday moments, experience guided mental exercises, and hear real stories that prove this is not theory, it is law. And by the end, you will know how to wield this power consciously, lovingly, and fearlessly. Let's begin. Most people worship their five senses. They believe what they see, hear, touch, taste, and smell without question. But what if I told you that by the time you sense something, it's already old news? The visible world is nothing more than a shadow, a delayed reflection of your inner states. Neville warned, never accept as true what your senses tell you is true. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled until your assumption has all the sensory vividness of reality. Your senses are like a faulty GPS, insisting you are stuck in a city you left days ago. If you want to change destination, you must override the senses. By pretending, by assuming, by feeling the truth of your desire now. How do you do this? You imagine scenes that imply your wish is already fulfilled. You feel the truth of it, even when all evidence screams otherwise. You mentally lie to your senses so they eventually obey you. A woman once shared that while struggling financially, she imagined herself writing paid in full on every bill she received, even when her bank account said otherwise. Within months, unexpected promotions and refunds cleared her debts. She understood. The senses must lie first. The inner assumption must harden into fact, always within first, without second. Now let's see how to live this truth during the ordinary, often overlooked moments of life. The true masters of manifestation are not those who only imagine during meditation or quiet moments. They are those who seize the ordinary, boring, in-between moments and use them as silent laboratories of creation. Neville once said, "Your inner conversations are creating your outer life." When you are folding laundry, waiting at a red light, standing in line at the store, your mind is moving somewhere. The question is where? Are you revisiting old frustrations? Are you worrying? Are you mentally arguing with someone? Or are you quietly, simply, acting as if your desire is already yours? Imagine this. You are waiting in a long grocery line. Instead of feeling irritated, you shift internally. You pretend you are standing there with a deep sense of success. Maybe you just signed a major contract, or you are heading home to your dream house. You subtly straighten your posture. You feel gratitude bubbling under the surface. You stand not as someone who is waiting for life to change, but as someone for whom life already has. Boring moments are abundant, and that abundance is your secret weapon. Each idle second is a doorway. Step through it. You are always planting seeds. Why not plant the seeds of the reality you wish to harvest? Now, let's see how this pretending holds even when life feels painful, dark, or overwhelming. Because mastery is not only for the easy days, pain has a voice. And too often we listen. We believe the pain. We agree with the sadness. We surrender to the fear. Neville taught something radical. If you dwell in the state of your wish fulfilled, the pain of the present loses its power to bind you. To pretend during pain is not to deny your feelings. It is to choose a higher allegiance. It is to acknowledge the feeling, and still say within yourself, I remain faithful to the unseen reality of my fulfilled desire. A man once shared that after losing his job unexpectedly, he decided to act as if he were already successfully employed. Even through tears, he would get up early, shower, dress professionally, and imagine his calendar full of meaningful meetings. Within a few weeks, he received an unsolicited offer for a better job, one he hadn't even applied for. Pretending through pain is not about suppressing emotions. It is about not allowing emotions to dictate the story you tell yourself. Pain is temporary, Your assumption, held in feeling, becomes permanent reality. So the next time you feel broken, ask yourself, can I still even now feel 1 second of knowing that my desire is real? 1 second is enough to crack open the door to the miraculous. Now let's explore one of the most powerful times to pretend, a moment Neville called the gateway between the seen and the unseen. Neville revealed one of the most important secrets of manifestation. Sleep is the doorway into the subconscious. As you drift off to sleep, your conscious defenses relax. The mind becomes impressionable, soft, open. It is here that the seeds of assumption fall deepest into the fertile soil of the subconscious. Every night you have a sacred opportunity. As you lie in bed, instead of mentally replaying worries, you deliberately construct a scene that would naturally follow the fulfillment of your desire. You imagine it vividly, but most importantly, you feel it. Let's practice together, briefly. Close your eyes, just for a moment. Imagine you are in your new home. Feel the coolness of the marble countertop beneath your fingertips. See the golden afternoon light spilling through the windows. Hear the quiet hum of your own space, your sanctuary. Smile, naturally, as you move through rooms that are already yours. Feel the deep, relaxed satisfaction of a wish fulfilled. Fall asleep in that feeling. When you sleep in the assumption of the wish fulfilled, you are programming reality itself to comply. Each night becomes a rehearsal for your new life, and reality, unable to resist your persistent inner world, bends quietly to your new assumptions. Tonight, will you dare to pretend as you fall asleep? Now we move into a deeper understanding. How pretending is not just an act, it is a total identity shift. There comes a point in the process of manifestation when pretending must cross an invisible line. It must move from being something you do occasionally, during meditation, visualization, or silent affirmations, to something you are, a new state of being. Not a momentary act, but an ongoing assumption that feels so natural, so effortless, that you forget you were ever playing a role at all. Neville Goddard spoke of this when he said, "Change your conception of yourself, and you will automatically change the world in which you live." It sounds simple, but look closer. He did not say change your actions or force new circumstances. He said change your conception, the secret image, the quiet assumption, the unspoken identity you carry within yourself, often without even realizing it. This inner conception is the blueprint from which your entire life is constructed. Every conversation you have, every decision you make, every opportunity you attract or repel stems from this root idea of who I am. When we first begin practicing pretending, imagining our desires as already fulfilled, we often treat it like visiting a different country. We go there mentally for a few minutes, maybe once or twice a day. But then, when the visualization ends, we return home to the familiar feelings of lack, fear, doubt, or limitation. True transformation happens when you no longer return home to the old self, when you stay mentally, emotionally, and energetically in the new country, the new identity, long enough for it to feel like your native land. You no longer pretend occasionally. You live permanently from the new assumption. You forget it was ever otherwise. Think of it this way. Imagine an actor who is preparing for a powerful, life-altering role. At first, they study the character. They imitate the gestures, the speech patterns, the emotional tone. It feels strange at first, mechanical, foreign, artificial. But over time, through repetition and immersion, they no longer play the character. They become the character. And when they walk onto the stage, they are no longer pretending. They are living. This is exactly what must happen with you. You must immerse yourself so completely in the assumption of the wish fulfilled that it becomes second nature. Not forced, not mechanical, natural, normal, inevitable. But how do you cross this line? How do you move from mechanical pretending to effortless being? It begins with internal conversations. Listen carefully. Every day, every moment, you are talking to yourself. You are holding an internal dialogue about who you are, what you can expect, and what your future holds. Most of these conversations are so automatic, so habitual, that you rarely notice them. Neville called these inner conversations the real work of manifestation. Inner talking from premises of fulfilled desire is the way to consciously create circumstances. If you wish to shift identities, you must begin speaking to yourself from the new premise. Right now, inside your mind, imagine you are already living the life you desire. How would you speak about yourself? How would you interpret challenges? What assumptions would you make about tomorrow? For example, If you desire financial abundance and you encounter an unexpected expense, how would the wealthy version of you respond? Would you spiral into fear? Would you rehearse thoughts of scarcity? Or would you calmly assume that all needs are already met, that abundance flows to you effortlessly and continually? The shift happens not in dramatic declarations, but in these quiet, subtle assumptions you carry all day long. The new self does not argue with the old evidence. The new self simply ignores it. It is as if the old reality is a foreign language you no longer understand. You do not debate it. You do not explain yourself. You simply live from the new state. And reality, helplessly, must mirror it. Another critical element: emotional loyalty. You must become emotionally loyal to the new state. This means you stop using your feelings to validate the absence of your desire. If sadness arises, you allow it, but you do not use it as proof that you are failing. If doubt whispers, you notice it, but you do not obey it. Your loyalty belongs to the unseen reality you are assuming, not to the evidence of the senses, not to the moods of the moment. You act, think, feel, and move as the version of yourself who already has it. You embody it privately first. You forget the struggle, the striving, the waiting. You forget that it ever wasn't yours. Neville spoke of this forgetting when he said, "Act as though you are, and you will become." Notice, not wish as though you are, not hope as though you are. Act, live, move, assume as though you already are. A simple practice you can begin right now. Choose one sentence that represents your new identity. For example, I am successful beyond measure. I am deeply loved and cherished. I am the healthy, radiant embodiment of my dream life. Repeat this sentence quietly within yourself throughout the day, especially when the old story tries to pull you back, especially when circumstances tempt you to doubt. Repeat it not as a desperate mantra, but as a simple reminder. You are not creating something new. You are remembering what is already true at a deeper level. And the longer you live from this remembered truth, the faster the outer world will adjust to match it. Pretend so well, so fully, so naturally, that you truly forget it was ever just pretending. Then, without strain, without struggle, you will awaken into the life you once only dared to imagine. Before we move on, let me ask you something. If you could change one invisible habit today, one quiet assumption, would you do it? Because the real shift happens not when you wait for life to prove something to you, but when you quietly decide, it is already mine. I've shared something in the pinned comment that can help you apply this even more naturally into your daily life. It might be the reminder you didn't even know you needed. Now let's keep going and uncover why feeling, not just seeing, is the true secret behind all real pretending. One of the greatest misunderstandings about manifestation is the idea that simply visualizing a picture in your mind is enough to create change. People often close their eyes, imagine a scene, and then wonder why nothing happens. They believe that if the mental image is clear enough, vivid enough, it will manifest. But Neville Goddard taught something much deeper. He said, "It is not what you visualize that is creative. It is what you feel. The creative force is not the clarity of the image. It is the emotional charge behind it. It is the feeling of reality that impresses the subconscious mind and calls forth the unseen into form. You can imagine a perfect scene crystal clear, filled with every detail. But if it does not move you emotionally, it is sterile. It has no creative power. It remains a photograph, not a living seed. Feeling is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. Feeling is the permission slip you give to the universe to deliver what you have accepted as true. Think about a memory from your past. Notice how the ones you remember most vividly are not necessarily the most detailed, but the ones that carried the strongest emotion. A joyful moment, a devastating loss, a moment of triumph or embarrassment. It was the emotion, not the detail, that sealed it into your mind. Manifestation works exactly the same way. You are impressing a memory into your future by living it emotionally now. When you pretend that your desire is already real, you must not only see it, you must feel it. You must allow yourself to feel the relief, the pride, the joy, the gratitude, or the calm certainty that would naturally accompany its fulfillment. Neville instructed, "Catch the mood of the wish fulfilled and sustain it." He did not say, "Catch the picture." He said, "Catch the mood." What is mood? Mood is the atmosphere of feeling that surrounds a state of consciousness. It is not a thought. It is not a scene. It is a vibration of being. It is how you silently know you are loved, successful, healthy, abundant, or free, without needing to convince yourself. So how do you practice this? How do you shift from mere visualization into true feeling? First, select a simple scene that would naturally imply the fulfillment of your desire. For instance, if you wish to manifest a new home, you might imagine yourself sitting on your couch, sipping tea, watching the sunset through your window. Simple, ordinary, believable. Now, as you enter the scene mentally, do not focus on trying to see every detail perfectly. Instead, turn your attention inward to how it would feel to be there. Feel the comfort of the couch beneath you. Feel the warmth of the tea in your hand. Feel the soft glow of the evening light. Feel the deep, quiet satisfaction that this is your home, that it is natural, inevitable, and complete. Let the feeling rise naturally, without forcing it. Let it wash over you gently, like sunlight soaking into your skin. If you notice yourself trying too hard to see the room perfectly, stop and return to the feeling. The image can be blurry, vague, or even fleeting. It does not matter. What matters is that the feeling becomes dominant. The subconscious mind does not respond to words or images alone. It responds to vibration, to felt reality. Imagine two people standing before a locked door. One person knocks timidly, unsure if they are welcome. The other knocks boldly, confidently, knowing the door will open for them. Both knock, but only one expects entrance. Only one carries the feeling of certainty. In the same way, it is the feeling of the wish fulfilled that opens the door to manifestation. Another powerful practice is to anchor the feeling throughout your day. At random moments, pause and ask yourself, what would it feel like right now if I were already living my desire? Not, what would it look like, but what would it feel like? If you can generate that feeling even for a few seconds, if you can taste the mood of your fulfilled desire, you are planting seeds that cannot help but bloom. Remember, feeling is the secret, not force, not detailed pictures, not struggle. You are not visualizing to force something to happen. You are feeling because it has already happened in the unseen, and feeling is your acceptance of it. Feeling is your agreement with the reality you have chosen. Neville wrote, "Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and continue feeling that it is fulfilled until that which you feel objectifies itself." There is no mystery. There is no need to figure out how. There is only the simple, profound art of living inwardly in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Every time you do, you are calling your future into the present. Every time you feel it real, you are collapsing the distance between what you desire and where you stand. So the next time you sit down to visualize, remember, do not just see it, feel it. Live in the feeling until it becomes the most natural thing in the world. Pretend so deeply through feeling that you cannot remember a time when it was not already yours. This is the true act of creation. This is the magic that transforms the unseen into the seen. One of the hidden keys to mastering the art of manifestation is beginning small, not because the universe finds small desires easier to fulfill, but because your mind does. Your conscious and subconscious minds must develop trust between them. And trust is built through proof, through success, through the steady demonstration that what you assume inwardly becomes fact outwardly. Neville Goddard emphasized the importance of simple, natural scenes when beginning this work. He said, "The drama of life is a psychological one, in which all the conditions, circumstances, and events of your life are brought to pass by your assumptions. When you first start practicing the technique of pretending, your mind might resist. It might whisper doubts, mock your efforts, or point to evidence of the opposite. The greater the gap between your current reality and the size of your desire, the more noise the mind tends to make. This is why starting small is not only wise but powerful. By choosing mini assumptions, little daily demonstrations of your creative power, you build momentum, you gather evidence, you rewire your faith. Imagine this like strengthening a muscle. You would not expect to lift a massive weight the first time you enter the gym. You would start with lighter weights, allowing your body to experience success, proper form, and growth over time. In the same way, you begin with assumptions that feel accessible, believable, and close to your current identity. So what does a mini assumption look like? It could be as simple as assuming you will receive an unexpected compliment today. It could be assuming you will find a parking space right in front of the store. It could be assuming you will receive a small gift, a kind message, or a pleasant surprise. Small enough that your logical mind does not resist too fiercely, yet meaningful enough to prove the principle to yourself. A woman once shared that when she began studying Neville's teachings, She decided to test the power of assumption with a playful desire. She imagined finding a feather of a very specific color, purple, somewhere in her city within 3 days. Every day she spent just a few moments imagining holding the feather, feeling its softness, admiring its color. She assumed it was already hers. On the second day, while walking past a craft store, she glanced into the window and saw a decorative display filled with purple feathers. She smiled, knowing that the universe had responded, and her confidence soared. That one small victory gave her the emotional certainty to tackle larger assumptions, relationships, career, financial success. Another man, struggling with doubt, decided to assume he would find a forgotten $5 bill somewhere. He imagined pulling it from a jacket pocket, feeling the crumpled texture, hearing the soft crackle of the paper. He imagined the casual gratitude he would feel, as though this kind of thing happened all the time. 2 days later, while cleaning out an old backpack, he found not just $5, but $20. The specific amount did not matter. What mattered was that he experienced the tangible bridge between imagination and reality. Each mini-assumption is a brick laid on the path to greater creations. Each success imprints the mind with the truth. What I feel inwardly becomes my outer life. As your trust in the process deepens, you can naturally stretch your assumptions to include bigger dreams, new homes, fulfilling relationships, financial abundance, vibrant health. But the principle never changes. You assume the end, feel it as real, and trust the invisible process. One of Neville's lesser-known lectures, Seed Time and Harvest, explains this beautifully. He describes how all things bring forth after their kind. The tiny seed does not need to know how it will become the towering tree. It simply must be planted, watered, and left undisturbed. The same is true of your assumptions. So when you practice pretending, do not overwhelm yourself with distant, impossible fantasies that only trigger doubt. Begin with the near, the simple, the believable. Master the feeling of success in small things. Let the evidence of your creative power accumulate, like gentle ripples becoming a rising tide. Here is a practical exercise. Before going to sleep tonight, choose one tiny thing you will assume into existence. Feel it real for just a minute or two. It could be a free cup of coffee, a smile from a stranger, a song you love playing at the right moment. Feel the satisfaction of having it already. Smile as you drift into sleep, and when it happens, because it will, acknowledge it, celebrate it, let it strengthen your inner certainty. Neville said, "The world is a mirror, forever reflecting what you are doing within yourself." Many assumptions sharpen your skill in the unseen world. They cultivate the quiet, steady knowing that reality bends to the one who dares to believe. Pretend tiny first. Prove to yourself the power that has always been yours. Then, when your dreams grow larger, you will meet them not with fear, but with the quiet confidence of one who has already walked the invisible path many times. You are planting miracles with every thought, every feeling, every assumption. Start small. Start today. One of Neville Goddard's most powerful techniques is revision, the art of mentally changing a past event to create a new future. Neville said, "Change the feeling of the past and you automatically change the future." Most people think the past is fixed, but it lives on only through memory and emotion. By revising how you experience the past, you alter the emotional patterns that shape your present and future reality. Suppose you had a painful conversation. Instead of reliving the hurt, you close your eyes and imagine the scene ending with kindness, understanding, and love. You feel it as if it truly happened that way. Your subconscious mind accepts this new memory and rearranges your outer world accordingly. Revision is not denial. It is reclaiming authorship over your story. The subconscious mind does not care what really happened. It responds only to what you emotionally accept as true. Each night, review your day. Anything unpleasant, revise it. Imagine it ending well. Feel the better outcome until it feels natural. By practicing revision, you command your future through the invisible power of assuming a better past. Life becomes fluid, responding to your new assumptions as faithfully as a mirror reflects your face. True pretending is not only in imagination, but also in subtle, invisible actions. Neville Goddard taught that once you assume a state inwardly, you must live from it, not waiting for external confirmation, but embodying it quietly, naturally. Invisible actions are the micro-movements, habits, and choices that align with your assumed reality. They are not dramatic changes meant to force outcomes. They are quiet affirmations through behavior. If you have assumed yourself to be successful, How would you walk into a room? Would you rush, slouch, or shrink? Or would you move with calm assurance, making decisions with quiet confidence? If you have assumed yourself healthy, how would you treat your body? Would you eat, move, and rest as someone who trusts in their vitality? The outer behaviors do not create the state creates the behaviors. But embodying them solidifies your inner shift, weaving your assumption into the fabric of daily life. Neville said, "You must persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled." Invisible actions are persistence in motion, the silent, powerful evidence that you have already become the version of yourself who lives your desire. Live it inside. Move as if it is done. Reality will catch up inevitably. After assuming your desired state, you will often encounter external evidence that appears to contradict it. Neville Goddard warned against reacting to these appearances, reminding us, dare to believe in the reality of your assumption and watch the world play its part relative to its fulfillment. The mute button technique is simple. Consciously refuse to give attention, energy, or emotional reaction to anything that denies your assumption. You become internally deaf and blind to all that does not align with the reality you have chosen. Imagine your senses are broadcasting a temporary static, and instead of fighting it, you quietly press mute. You continue walking in your new state, unaffected. You do not argue with appearances. You do not explain yourself to others. You do not seek reassurance. If you are manifesting abundance and receive a bill you did not expect, you mute the panic. You return inwardly to the feeling of wealth, trusting that reality is rearranging in unseen ways. Your job is not to fight the old reality. Your job is to remain loyal to the unseen assumption until it hardens into fact. Silence your reaction. Preserve your inner world. The outer will inevitably conform. Manifestation thrives not through obsession, but through relaxed certainty. Neville Goddard taught that assuming the wish fulfilled is a gentle act, not a frantic effort. When pretending becomes strained or desperate, it loses its creative power and signals to the subconscious that the desire is still missing. Soft focus is the art of assuming your desire is real while remaining light, playful, and emotionally detached from how or when it must appear. It is a confident knowing, like placing an order at a restaurant and calmly expecting it to arrive without checking the kitchen every 5 minutes. When you live in soft focus, you move through life naturally. You do not cling to your desire. You rest in the state of already having it, trusting that the invisible process is unfolding perfectly. If anxiety or urgency arises, gently return to the feeling of fulfillment. Smile inwardly, as if remembering a happy secret. This lightness keeps the channel clear and allows manifestation to flow easily. Neville said, "Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and persist in that assumption without effort. True pretending is effortless, calm, and quietly confident. Soft focus is the posture of faith that magnetizes your fulfilled desire into form. Pretending is not fantasy. It is the deliberate creation of reality. You have seen that feeling, not effort, is the key, and that soft, persistent assumption shapes the world around you." Neville Goddard taught, "Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and persist in that assumption." When you imagine vividly, revise wisely, act invisibly, and ignore opposing evidence, you become the architect of your life. Tonight, before sleep, enter the feeling of already living your dream. Carry it lightly, confidently. The outer world must conform to the inner. Live now as the person you have chosen to be. And if you are ready to deepen this transformation, do not leave without checking the pinned comment. There is something waiting for you there. Something that may change the way you see yourself forever.